Welcome back, peeps, to another wonderful episode of the World of Ted, where we explore how single Latter-day Saints can learn, live, and love truly enjoyable dating. Got another older article here, this one from Meridian Magazine, and I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel when I'm looking at this particular writer. Actually, I'm just messing with you. But it's not far from the truth, because we're going to look at an article here by Erin Ann McBride. And if you're a long-time audience member of Join the Journey Radio, you'll know there was a time back, some years actually, when, I was actually doing some reviews of her writing, and I've just never had a very favorable opinion of her as a writer. I just don't put that much stock into what she has to say, because she never really dives very deep beyond this. She just gets to like the surface layer, and she's really good at conveying the feelings that come with being there on that surface layer, but she doesn't get to any real solutions because she never really digs down deep. And so, I've just never really been that impressed. But today we're going to look at one of her articles that she published like 10 years ago. Let's get this started, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So here we are, Meridian Magazine, and her article is entitled General Conference Marriage Counsel, What Happens Next? As you can see, it was a little over a year ago. Let's dive in here. 2 weeks have passed since General Conference resounding call from the pulpit to not delay marriage. Oh, gosh, it's a split infinitive again. See what I mean about her? Right? I'm just talking about her grammatically. I mean, her content is just, And now we, the singles, must ask ourselves, as counsel is going to require a mighty change of heart in each of us. If so, how are we going to do it? Mighty change of heart. It's almost like she's responding under this assumption that, well, if you're not married, it's because you don't really want to be. There's some truth to that, but I think the larger truth is we don't know what we're doing. I mean, there's a lot of people that say dating is hard. Well, if you think dating is hard, that's just an admission that you don't know what you're doing. I mean, most people who say dating is hard would also say walking is easy. They wouldn't say walking is hard. I mean, because they've mastered walking. They've mastered the skill of walking. They know the fundamentals, and they've mastered them so effectively that when it comes time to execute, they just execute flawlessly. So, to say dating is hard, that's like saying you don't know what you're doing. And that seems to be the assumption here from where she's coming from. How are we going to do it? Well, are you just admitting that you don't know what to do? I mean, you don't know what you're doing? A lot of us don't know what we're doing. That's why this whole dating scene is screwed up, because we don't know what we're doing. And that's why, here on Join the Journey Radio, we have things like the World of Ted. We have other resources because we're trying to help Latter-day Saint singles have more joy in their journey. And one of the top things that we could do to help people have more joy in their journey is, let's talk about the dating journey. Let's talk about the fundamentals of the dating journey, and let's see what we can do to master those fundamentals so effectively that when it comes time to execute, we just execute, and it's flawless. We don't even think about it. There's no struggle or anything. I've spoken to many singles from many different backgrounds over the past 2 weeks. The reactions have varied widely on how to accept this counsel and encouragement. The first question I heard was, is this a commandment? Are we being told we have to get married? Well, it's a part of the gospel plan, honey. So, yeah, I guess in that sense you could consider it a commandment. Or is it just counsel? Many have asked, what is the church going to do to help me get married? You want me to do this? Just tell me what I need to do. Show me step by step. Don't make me figure it out. I mean, well, when you understand the fundamentals, there's really not a whole lot to figure out. And so I think, you just need to understand the fundamentals. Now, going at this from another direction, what is the church going to do to help me get married? Well, why should the church do anything to help you get married? I mean, I remember when I was younger and I used to think like this. it's like, well, I'm having some struggles with this. Why can't, the bishop, he's like a, judge in Israel. He's wearing the mantle. Why can't he just, get the revelation and say, okay, we're going to play, God's matchmaker here. So, you and you get together, you're a couple. You and you get together. Now you're a couple. It's just, why can't it be like that? Why can't we have arranged marriages? But surely take a lot of the, difficulty out of trying to find a acceptable companion. And yet, when you think about that, that's so not the way to go. But, when I was younger and frustrated, didn't really know what I was doing, then that seemed like a very acceptable option. And so I can sense some of the frustration here behind this question she's asking. Others have blatantly stated that since their divorces, they're not ready for marriage. And hey, that could be perfectly true and legitimate. Divorce is one of those things that just tears at the very heart of you. And so, you may need more time to heal. You may need more time to become whole. And then even after you become whole, you may decide that, you know what, the whole marriage thing is just not for me. You might decide that. I'm of the opinion and the ilk that, we should always keep trying to move forward along the path of progression that our Heavenly Father has signaled for us. So, I would be of the opinion that's like, I'd want to take the time that I need to be healed, to be whole, to come out of the difficulty stronger than I was before. And then at that point, I would advocate, hey, let's get back in the game. Let's get back moving forward with this. But hey, I totally have total respect and understanding for those people who are like, I'm done. I'm done, and, a large part of why I give that measure of understanding and respect, because I see the whole path as like stretching through eternity. A lot of us get so focused and caught up in this life and what's going on here and now that we forget about, the eternal nature of the path of progression that we're on. Many have expressed sadness at how marriage is all they wanted but have not yet found, and how this counsel doesn't change anything. Well, that's right. It doesn't change anything. Simply telling people what they need to do, but then, they're still kind of lost as to like, okay, how am I supposed to do that? Again, you got to go back to fundamentals. Understand the fundamentals of what you're trying to do. And a lot of that confusion goes away. Hearing others talk about, quote, singles need to put off getting married and just go do it, unquote, as if finding a love and eternal companion is a simple choice, has been a heartbreaking slap in the face to some singles. Well, it is and it isn't. It's simple once you understand the fundamentals. That doesn't necessarily make it as easy as like, running to Kmart and getting the blue light special. But what more can I say to that? It's like when you understand what you're trying to do, you understand the fundamentals of it. There really isn't any issue when it comes to execution. It's when you don't understand the fundamentals that execution becomes this, nebulous cloud that you can't really get your arms around. So, other singles have shrugged it off, saying, "So what?" I can also tell you what hasn't happened. My phone hasn't suddenly started ringing off the hook with calls from eligible men. Oh gosh, this is part of the reason why. There's this sense of entitlement there. Can you sense it? Like in between the lines, my phone hasn't suddenly started ringing off the hook with calls from eligible men. It's like you think that you're so, stellar and wonderful that, the leaders of the church are putting out this admonition, you need to get married if you're single, and that suddenly, because they give that admonition, they're going to suddenly pick you. If they haven't been picking you up to this point, maybe it would be more productive to step back and say, why aren't they picking me? What is it about the fundamentals of what I'm trying to do that I don't understand? What is it about the fundamentals of what I'm trying to do that I'm not adhering to? And then let's make changes in me so that I am adhering to those fundamentals. And when you take that approach, you find the results come out a lot better. But just sitting there and just this sense of entitlement, I'm sensing between the lines, it drives me nuts. Although I suspect there were some individuals. How about there were some individuals? I wish I could turn I wish sometimes, it'd be like in the word processor where you go in your options menu and you flip off the spell check and the grammar check. Sometimes I wish I could do that with my inner editor, but I can't do it. Maybe this sort of thing would happen across singledom. Men haven't been lining up outside of jewelers, and that misspelled there, hasn't been an increase in bridal gown sales. But what did you expect? It has only been 2 weeks. Yeah, it's going to be a lot longer, honey, with you taking that attitude. If we, and by we I mean the collective caring membership of the LDS Church in general, want to see more marriages happening sooner, a few key things will need to happen. The following is all just in my humble and very educated on this one particular subject, even if I do say so myself. Well, that's debatable, honey, but I digress. Opinion, and not the result of any sort of study, poll, or commandment, just my real life experiences as a single LDS woman over many moons. Hey, I'm not gonna dish your experience. I'm not gonna say that what you say happened to you did not happen. I'm not gonna say that what you felt from what you experienced did not happen. I'm not gonna go there, okay? But I am potentially, very probably, based on what I know of your past work that I've had exposure to, I am probably, very likely, going to be disagreeing with you on how that experience and the emotions you had that you experienced are interpreted. What it is that they mean. And what you should do because of that as a result. So let's get into this. Church-wide changes in the singles program. Again, okay, this is part of the problem. You're thinking about this all wrong. When you think about singles program, already right there with what you're classifying this as, you're not thinking about people. So already right there, you're off on the wrong foot, because that sets up the mentality of, well, all we need to do is put on a program. All we need to do is calendar activities, and then everything else will take care of itself. Let me see. So many stakes, practically like 90+% of the stakes in Zion are taking that approach. And how effective is that? I'm going to say not very. So, yeah, you got to get on the right mindset from the get-go. So let's talk about singles groups where the focus is on people and not on an activity. Plain and simple change will have to come in the singles programs from the top down. A major change has already come in Utah, but only in Utah, regarding student wards and YSA wards. Student wards will soon be disbanded and combined with geographically assigned YSA wards, which, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is just a reorganization that she's talking about, but everyone still calls these YSA wards singles wards. So you're just shuffling organizational boundaries around, but you're not really changing the essence of what's going on. It's part of YSA State, good for the YSA of Utah. Unfortunately, this change only affects the YSA of Utah and not anyone else. Well, honey, I got news for you. We should do away with singles wards altogether, but that's a topic for a whole nother conversation. If I start going down that rabbit hole, we're never going to get done with this video. So I'll have to address that in a separate video. The current singles, regardless of over 30 mid-singles or YSA program, is just not working church-wide. Well, I'll agree to that. The approach that we are taking towards singles is not working. It is more successful in some towns than others. Some towns it is completely defunct. For major change to happen, it will come from the top down. Now that I do agree with, because that's the way it works in this church. Everything is top down. So if the leadership's not on board, if they don't buy into it, ain't nothing happening. Your idea might be so amazingly stellar, but it ain't going nowhere. Your idea is DOA if leadership doesn't have buy-in first. So I agree. Finally, something we agree on. I have my own ideas for how it should change. I'm sure you do. I do not believe this is the time or place for me to share such opinions. Thank you for keeping that to yourself, especially since the opinions of nothing more than just one opinionated woman isn't what matters here. Again, something else we agree on. We're on a roll. I've got 2 already. Where's number 3? What matters is what does or does not happen from the top of the church on down. Regional and local changes. As stated previously, in some towns, a single program, getting rid of this program thing, is successful, and in some it is a near failure. Personally, I live in a town where, to the best of my knowledge, there isn't a program for singles over 30. This is exactly the sort of thing that needs to be fixed. Well, I think the mid-singles program has come a long way since 2011 when you were writing this article, but even still, in my mind, it's not very effective because it's, again, focusing on program, and a lot of the ways that mid-singles are run is just a continuation of YSA. It's just giving people a space in which they can think YSA without actually being YSA. So we just take this frontier for this godforsaken wasteland of being forever single that used to be there at 31 when you aged out of a singles ward, and we just extend that out to like 45 or so. And yeah, that's all we're doing is just moving a boundary. I mean, how does that solve a problem? It doesn't. And let's see. So local and regional leaders need to be aware of existing and how many singles are under their jurisdictions. The information can be passed on to the singles. What information? Again, what information? I get if you're talking about program and you're looking for activities, then okay, sign up for like an email listserv or have a website or or a social media channel. Hello. If there's a small number of singles, call up the next town over, have the next takeover, start making introductions. So who's that for? Is that for leaders? You should take a greater interest in making, that is. She's saying the leaders need to do this. Program isn't working. Leaders need to take a greater interest in making it work. There's a small number of singles, call up the next town over, the next stake, start making introductions. So she's saying the leaders should be calling up and making the introductions. Honey, this is why you're single. Or at least one of the big reasons why you're single. You're expecting all of this to just happen to you. I mean, notice what she said earlier? It's like, oh yeah, the leaders put this, thing up in general conference and oh, I'm so shocked. No, there's no men who are calling me on my phone. I mean, it's like you're expecting all this to just happen to you. And results don't come from just expecting it to just happen. It doesn't come just because you're righteous. I mean, if that were true, I would have been married a long time ago, honey. But it's not the way it works. Results come from action, and only from action. So if you don't take action, you don't get results. And if you take the wrong action, you're going to get the wrong results. So if you want to get the results that you want to get, then you need to take the action that will lead to those results, that are tied to those results. And that's where understanding the fundamentals of the dating journey come into play. Here we go. Singles are highly unlikely to stick their necks out and say, hey, I'm all alone over here. Please, someone notice me. They are much more likely to just disappear into the woodwork. Be aware of your singles. Help them by making sure there's a functioning singles program in your stake. Well, again, functioning singles program. There should be a singles group. And the way to get this started is you get leadership buy-in to the idea that you're going to be making a group, which is basically a community of singles that exist to support each other. And then the activities that you have are simply a means to the end of building that community. So, you impart this vision out to everybody. Okay, so it's not just something leaders should be expected to do, and then singles just kind of step back and enjoy the fruits of the labor of the leaders. It needs to be something that everyone is involved with. Everyone. So everyone is involved in building the sense of community, so that, when somebody walks through the door, there's always somebody there to greet them and invite them in. And nobody sits alone, because there's always somebody inviting them to sit with the larger group. Building this sense of community and having this mindset. But again, if that's what you want, it's got to be coming from singles themselves. It can't just come just from the leadership. Yeah, there's a top-down structure where leaders need to have a buy-in of the vision, but then beyond that, it really rests more in the hands of the singles than it does in the hands of leaders. The biggest thing that will help singles regardless of age actually date and get married will be actually getting to meet other singles. Okay, so meeting with leadership is what's going to help people get married. Okay, I'm not sure what alternate dimension of the universe you're living in, but in this dimension of the universe, it don't work that way. Because I can tell you, I've had lots of interaction with my leaders over the years, and I'm just as single as when I came home from my mission. So I don't think that's working too well. I don't think that's the way we want to go. This should be just about the least shocking statement I've ever made. Oh, is it really? And yet, it's probably one of the most needed statements. As a single living in a small town without a singles program, I implore you, if you want me to date, introduce me to someone. Okay, this is part of where you're running off the rails. You've got this idea that the only way this eternal companion is going to come into your life is if there's a church-sponsored activity that is arranged for you to go and meet that special someone. And that outside of that venue, it ain't happening. And that's why, for you, this marriage thing ain't happening. Because your vision is far too narrow. You need to expand your vision and consider all the possibilities that are there for you. The problem with a lot of people, though, is that, they're basically described by Thomas Edison's description of work and success. He's like, most people, turn away from success because when it shows up, it's dressed in overalls and looks like work, and that's the way it is with this whole dating journey, because really a lot of it is focused, when you understand the fundamentals of what you're doing, you understand the importance of needing to make changes in yourself. And so most people, because they don't want to make changes in themselves, they just want to have this magical person just show up at their door and just totally accept them as they are. Just love me for me. Why can't you love me as I am? They're so entrenched in that mentality that they refuse to make the changes that are needed for them to become more agreeable, so they can make the agreements that they need to progress through each of the stages of the dating journey. But because, they don't want to make any changes, they just stay in the state of being not agreeable enough. And without an agreement, you don't make progress. So you stay stagnant. You don't move. There is no progress for you. Again, see, this is why she doesn't dig deep enough to get to the underlying problem of what's going on. All she's doing is living on the surface here. If you want me to date, introduce me to someone. In other words, it's not my responsibility to find this special someone. You're the leader in the church. It's your responsibility to match me up with somebody. Wow. Way to own your life there, Aaron. Way to own your life. Take responsibility for the results you have. Way to go with that. You go, girl. Again, this is another reason why you're still single. We need to be meeting the right kind of people. Right now, my options are limited. No, they're not. They're only limited because you're not expanding your vision. But let's see what she said. Limited to the bars in town, or I'm highly unlikely to meet the right kind of man. So then why is that even in your list of options? Internet dating, which could actually do something if you do it right, but even then, okay. And driving 4 hours to the next big town or to attend singles activities. And yes, I have driven those 4 hours more than once. If you want me to meet someone, you'll need to tell me, hey, have you met Fred? He's single. He's in the XYZ ward. Otherwise, I may never know he exists. Oh, gosh, this coming together of a man and a woman really works best when, the man and the woman complement each other. And so what you really need to do is focus on becoming the best version of you that you can. And then beyond that, focus on your personal ministry. Focus on having that contribution of goodness and light that you make to the world, and focus yourself on making that contribution. And I'm telling you, if you will throw yourself wholeheartedly into that eventually somewhere along the way, you will cross paths with plenty of acceptable, options for an eternal companion. But you've got to get out there and you've got to, put yourself in that situation where you can cross paths with them. What I'm reading here is the only way you see that you're ever going to cross paths with somebody is at a church singles activity. And that is flatly not the case. There are plenty of people who met their eternal companion at some other way. And, as long as you take this narrow view of this is the only way it's going to happen, you're limiting the probability of your success. Because you've only got, this limited list of options that you're looking at. You need to expand your horizons, expand your options, expand the possibilities of what could be. And when you start acting in that way, then you start increasing the probability that you'll be successful. Let's see. Help your fellow singles out, whether you're married or single, by letting singles know where the other singles are hiding. They're not hiding. They're not hiding. You just don't see them because, again, your vision is narrow. You're only looking at these, outlets that a lot of people think are the only outlets. And you've got that mentality too, where you're thinking this is the only way it's ever going to happen. Sorry. It's just not that. Because contrary to popular belief, we do not have words written in visible ink on our foreheads. The only way we can read sends a signal, hey, you, I am single. But wouldn't that be convenient if we did? Actually, no, it wouldn't be convenient. Especially in a culture where, the mark of belonging is being married with kids. So, you don't want to be like putting something out that everyone can see that signals that you, by definition, don't really belong to that culture. So, yeah, I don't really think that's a good idea. Individual change, the biggest and most important change. Last but not least, if more individuals are going to stop putting off getting married or make themselves more available, a change of heart will have to come at the personal individual level. Not sure what she's getting at here, but let's go on. Making the decision to date with marriage in mind has to come at the personal level. No one else can make that change or decision for you. There are a lot of people out there waiting for a brick to fall from the heavens with a note attached that says, marry the girl in the red shirt standing directly in front of you. Others are waiting for the day their cars are paid off, their educations are finished, or they can afford to purchase a home. As Elder Scott said in conference, get on with life. Why are you holding up one of the most important endeavors of your life over money? Well, it's not that they don't want to do it, honey. It's that a lot of them don't know how to go about doing it. And so they try, they put forth effort. And of course, when those efforts aren't aligned with the fundamentals of the dating journey, those efforts aren't very successful. And then they just get all frustrated and they don't know what else to do. And they stew in the frustration so much that they can't really focus on finding a solution. So they just end up being stagnant and they don't know what to do. It's not really a matter of them wanting it so much as it is just not knowing how to go about doing it. let's see. Singles, I know it is tough. We are often faced making the decision between logic and potential romance. And now whoa. We are often faced with the decision between logic and potential romance. That sounds, I mean, I know you're a woman, but that sounds like something only a woman would say, because, I mean, women are logical. Okay, contrary to popular belief amongst us brethren, women are logical. The thing is that their logic is based in emotion. So they can actually reason and see the intellect of the logic that a man would use, but that doesn't really hold sway with them because, their natural logic is based in emotion. And so, I mean, that they got to have this little tug of war going on when they know they should go one way, but they're feeling they should go another way. And since women are all about feeling, so many of them actually end up going in the way that they know they shouldn't go, but they do it anyway. Making a decision to date with marriage in mind has to come at the personal level. No one expects to see upstairs. A lot of people out there, yeah, okay. Let's see, where are we? And now we need to marry the two together, no pun intended. We have received counsel from the prophet. Now we need to choose to make the romantic choices, the ones that give us better opportunities to date and meet our singles, are logical choices. These decisions need to be made perfectly and individually. See, again, it's like there's no sense of complementation here. It's like, why would anyone want to share your life? You're just sitting here waiting for this miracle to happen, and that someone should just take you in because you're righteous. I mean, why would anyone want to share in your life? What is your life? All I can see here from what your life is sitting here waiting for the one to magically show up and whisk you away into your happily ever after. Sorry, but, not a whole lot of enticement there for me to want to share life with you, if that's all you're looking for. These decisions need to be made perfectly individually. No one else can determine where you just might find love. Well, you've determined that. You had that list earlier that was narrowly defined. These are the only options that I got for finding a companion. Leaders, you need to help me by introducing me to somebody. So you've obviously determined for yourself where you're going to be able to find your companion. Again, expand your vision. Really expand it. But I'm going to add my 2 cents in here. If everyone you know and value in your life thinks you need to consider a romance with a certain individual, wise up and listen to them. After all, it only takes one. You just have to find where the one person is, whether it be in the Salt Lake. Well, honey, I got news for you. It's not about finding the one. It's about finding one amongst a group of people who are the right type for you. The type of person that will complement you in your life. Last but not least, are we near the end? Thank goodness. Remember the words of the prophet. Find someone with whom you can be compatible. Realize you will not be able to anticipate every challenge which may arise, but be assured that almost anything can be worked out if you are resourceful and if you are committed to making your marriage work. President Monson, I agree with that. When all else fails, quote Jane Austen. I am determined that nothing but the very deepest love will induce me into matrimony. Yeah, we saw how that worked out for Elizabeth Bennet. We saw the little torturous route she had to go through. Single friends, give it to me straight. Let's hear it from you now. Are you taking this new counsel to heart? Are you making any changes? If so, what are they? How did this counsel make you feel? What do you think? Leave your comments below, and thanks for reading. And we can see here that there are no comments. So, any comment that I would leave, I've already left it to you here in this video. So, that's pretty what it is. Understand the fundamentals of what you're doing. Expand your vision. Expand your thinking. Don't be so narrow-minded, because that's just going to be a limitation you place on yourself and your possibilities for increasing the probability of your success. You want to increase probability? Get a wider pool. Get a wider berth of options. Stop restricting yourself and saying, well, it can't happen this way or it can't happen that way. Expand your vision. And, you've got to make a choice. I mean, you've got to work on you, become more agreeable so you can get the agreements that you need to progress. Because if you don't make agreements, you're not going to progress. That's the bottom line. The only way to progress from one stage to the next in the dating journey is to make the agreement you need. So if you're not agreeable enough, you'll never get that agreement. So then do the work that needs to be done to become more agreeable. And then you can progress. The only other alternative is you find someone for whom you're already agreeable enough. Then you don't have to make any changes in you, but finding that person for whom you're not agreeable enough, that's a harder row to hoe. So it's much easier if you just make changes in you and, do what you need to do to become more agreeable. And then, hey, it's a lot easier to make agreements when you're agreeable enough. And once you secure the agreements, then you can make progress. That's it. That's it. So that's all we have for this episode of The World of Ted. Be sure to come back next time. We will explore how single LA saints learn, live, and love truly enjoyable dating. See you next time.